Welcome to Daily Meditation with Sangha Live.
Welcome to our week of daily meditation practice. This week's topic is practicing insight in daily life. Practicing insight in daily life. I thought actually this would be a good topic because the word insight has a very specific meaning in our meditation context. The word insight also has and it's a powerful meaning. It's an important meaning, and it is a life-changing meaning. The word insight in our daily life, in our conventional life, also has a very important meaning. It's a powerful meaning. It can be a life-changing meaning. But often when we use the word insight in like social conventions, it doesn't have the same meaning as it has as the word insight has in our meditation practice. So today's session is going to really be looking at what is insight. This whole week is practicing insight in daily life. In other words, we practice insight on the cushion, and then we take that into our daily life. But today we're really going to ask the question is, what is insight? And we are all here because we're practicing vipassana meditation. The translation of vipassana, or the way it's often translated, is insight meditation. Why is it translated as insight meditation? Because the practice unfolds in a series of developmental insight stages. There's 16 of those stages, in fact. Not every school uses the stages model, and that's totally fine. But the practice does unfold in a very specific way. The way that the practice unfolds is predictable. And because it's predictable, it is also teachable. So when we meet insight meditation, this is what we're talking about. It's actually not the direct translation, but it's a very good translation. The direct translation of vipassana is just a compound there. There's the word anupassana, which means contemplation or the repeated contemplation. And vi in vipassana means the three universal characteristics, the dhammas, ultimate reality, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And what we're doing in vipassana meditation is we are repeatedly contemplating these three universal characteristics. They are universal characteristics because they appear in all physical and in all non-physical, energetic, or let's say non-physical phenomena in the universe. All phenomena in the universe is conditioned by these three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And as we see into those deeper and deeper and deeper, the path of insight begins to gradually unfolds. So that's why this is called insight meditation. But there's insight, and then there's insight. Like I was saying before, there's insight that we have in our practice, and there's insight that we kind of use in a conventional sense. You know, I had an insight into my business, or I had an insight into this relationship, or I had an insight into, I don't know, whatever, the news, politics, whatever. And that kind of points to the fact that there's two types of insight. Generally speaking, there's two types of insight. The first type of insight is kind of personal. It's about us and our personal journey that unfolds. You know, it's like I said before, maybe I reflecting on my relationship with my mom, for example, and I suddenly understood something. Now that I'm a parent, I have small kids. I've had many insights into childhood, my own childhood. I've had many insights into my parents' experience when I was a child, of me being a child and them being parents. I've had many insights into what it means to be a parent. I've had many insights into responsibility. Now, these types of insight, it's completely valid to use the word insight, and these are important. But these insights are personal. These insights are relative. They're relative to me. It might also be relative to other parents. We were all children. Maybe if you're a parent, you might have similar insights or even the same insight. So in that sense, it's not necessarily relative, but it's not relative to everybody. And my personal insight with my personal history and my specific parents won't be anything like your personal insight. So in that sense, the first meaning of insight is a relative insight. And it is important. It is life-changing, as I said. It is kind of helps us understand the puzzle of living our life. And by all means, we want to have as many insights as possible. I went away and by the way, this type of insight can happen in meditation. Suddenly I realized something about my childhood. Suddenly I realized something about I want to remodel the kitchen and I just can't figure it out. I stop and meditate, ding, I meditate, bing, the light bulb goes on. I have an insight in how to do the renovation. That type of insight is good. It happens in meditation, but it can also happen in bed. It can also happen at work. It can also happen when you're shopping. They just happen. But the important thing about this type of insight is that they're relative. Okay, so insight with a small I. First type of insight gives us knowledge, gives us some understanding. Okay. Second type of insight is the insight that we're going to be looking at this week. And that is not a personal insight. It is an impersonal insight. It is not a relative insight. It is a universal insight. These types of insight don't give us more and more knowledge. Relative insights give us knowledge. Universal insights, as they go deep enough, as we integrate them more and more, give us wisdom. So the two types of insight, one is personal, one is universal, relative and universal. First type of insight gives us knowledge, understanding, and how to put things together in our life. The second type of insight develops wisdom. This is the type of insight that we're looking at this week in practicing insight in daily lives. So far, so good. There's three trainings in Buddhism. The Eightfold Path, the Eightfold Noble Path is broken down into three parts. The first part is the morality training, ethical training. We're not concerning ourselves with that here, although that's foundational. So we all need to be doing some morality or ethical training, practicing, living our life in a way that doesn't harm ourselves or harm others with our words, harm ourselves or harm others with our actions. That's basically what the first training is in Buddhism. Morality training, ethics, sila. The second training in Buddhism is samadhi or bhavana or concentration. It's the mental training. This is the training that we do when we sit down to meditate. It can be in samatha meditation or vipassana meditation. But this is the type of training that we're doing every time we meditate. We turn in and we meditate. The third type of training is wisdom training, sila, samadhi, penya. Morality, mental development, and wisdom. It's the application of the insights that we gradually gain in our meditation practice. The application of that into our daily life is the wisdom training. Practicing insight in daily life is the practice of wisdom. Sitting down and practicing meditation is the practice of mental development, bhavana. So we're going to be looking at the bhavana with our sitting practice, and we're going to be looking at the daily life training or the application of those insights. As you activate mindfulness, it triggers off a series of developmental processes that move through stages. Each one of those stages is called an insight knowledge, a stage of intuitive wisdom. The early insights are relatively common sense, but as you get deeper and deeper into the path, those insight, they are quite counterintuitive. Because what's happening as we go through these stages of insight knowledge is that the sense of self, the egoic identity, gradually gets released and works through towards more organizing around true spirit. And that process is always counterintuitive. Moving through that process is counterintuitive. It's not counterintuitive to spirit, it's counterintuitive to the limited sense of self. And every time that counterintuitive flips, where we intuitively start to understand how the process is unfolding, that is an insight. The first of these insights is the simple insight of the differentiation between physicality and mentality. Nama rupa. Mind and matter begin to differentiate in our understanding. The insight is that we begin to see there's a difference between mind and matter. Yes, they're connected, but we see naturally how they differentiate. Before that insight arrives, the mind and the matter is completely fused together or confused together. So you don't even see that a thought leads to an action. You don't even see that an action creates a thought. You can't see it because it's all fused together. But as we establish a mindfulness practice and work through the hindrances must be worked through. We work through the hindrances, then quite naturally that insight arises. That mind and matter naturally differentiate as we see deeper into the nature of reality. This is the first insight. And one way to say this, it is the establishment of the observer. The ability to differentiate our awareness from our experience. This is insight number one, the ability to differentiate our awareness from our experience. If you're practicing mindfulness, you're practicing this, the ability to differentiate your awareness from your experience. Something arises in my experience, and there's some part of me that can differentiate and say, and observe that. That's arising. When I can observe it, I can see, oh, these are the qualities and characteristics of that experience. When I can observe it, I can begin to see how this experience changes, how it enters into a process. So the first insight is this differentiated awareness. In other words, the first insight is the establishment of mindfulness. Or maybe it's even better to say, it's more correct to say the establishment of mindfulness leads to the capacity to differentiate your awareness and create an observer of experience. This is foundational insight. No spiritual growth unfolds without this ability. Okay. Now, you could also drop the observer and just step back into pure awareness, identify as pure awareness. That's fine. That's a bit more of a non-dual. It's not a bit more. That's a non-dual practice. It's a good practice. But the insights that unfold in our path don't unfold when you're in non-dual awareness. Different insights unfold. So we're talking about the ability, the capacity of observing experience. Something arises, an itch arises, a sensation arises, a thought arises, a feeling arises, and we can simply differentiate our awareness and observe. This is foundational insight number one. Foundational insight number two is once we can differentiate awareness and observe, then we can start to see cause and effect. That this itch makes me worry in my mind. Or the frog in my throat makes me want to reach for the water to wet my whistle. That me reaching for the water didn't just happen out of nowhere. That there is a cause and effect process. That the wave of anger, for example, let's say an emotion arises, let's say it's anger, the wave of anger arising had a cause. This person did that, or they said this, or I didn't do that, and suddenly a wave of anger arises. Because I have the ability to differentiate my awareness, I can see the wave. I contain the wave with my observer. or rather the observation power, it's better to say. And then when I can see how it starts to make me think, and if I act on those thoughts, we begin to know where that goes. I can actually continue to observe those thoughts until the wave starts to subside and all the stressors that were part of that experience begin to relax. And I start to be able to see the whole process. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about process-oriented consciousness. Today, we're simply looking at the power to observe, our observation power, creating the observer, creating the witness, differentiating your awareness, and observing how things are connected. In your meditation practice, you're going to notice the breath. You're going to notice the rising of the breath, the falling of the breath. And as you continue to observe, you're going to notice that that starts to change. Maybe what was an easy breath starts to become a tight breath. No problem. Maybe what was a tight breath becomes a more tight breath. No problem. Don't try to change it. Maybe what's a tight breath starts to let go and become an easy breath. No problem. We're just here to observe the cause and effect of experience. Insight number one, establish the witness. Mindfulness, create the power of observation, the container of the observer. Insight number two, as you have that container of the observer, notice how things are connected. The sensation leads to that thought. That thought leads to this thought. This thought leads to, I have worries. Now I start to sweat because I'm worrying. I have a frog in my throat. I want to reach for the water. Or maybe I'm worried about how it sounds on the recording and I want to reach for the water to take a drink. Cause and effect. That's what we're looking for in this first day's meditation. Okay? Establish mindfulness. Notice the power of differentiated awareness, the observer. And as you're observing experience, whatever method you're practicing, if you see connections, recognize those, reflect on those for a moment, and realize that you are seeing insight. Okay? Let's begin. So finding a comfortable position. You can sit for 20 minutes. Take a moment and reflect on the inside, being mindful of the body in the body. And you don't really even have to go looking for experience, just simply be mindful of what's predominant. Usually the predominant experiences will come directly to the mind. And as you observe the sensation, the feeling, maybe the posture, maybe the breath, maybe touch points around the body, as you observe those, you know them. As you continue to observe them with mindfulness, know the deeper, the more subtler qualities and characteristics. And as you continue to observe those subtler quality and characteristics, notice what happens to the phenomena. In other words, noticing how it changes. Unless you're a complete beginner in meditation, you will understand that all phenomena changes. You'll understand that not because I said so or not because the Buddha said so. You'll understand it from your direct experience. And our job, or one of our jobs as the observer, as the differentiated awareness, as we practice mindfulness, our job is to know it, know the qualities and characteristics, and then know how things change. Establishing mindfulness, creating the container of observation. And then, should you notice any cause and effect connections, take a moment and reflect on that as a foundational insight. With each breath in each moment by moment, breath by breath. Bringing your mindfulness back to the body. Feel the body. Bring your mindfulness to the breath. Feel the breath. Bring your mindfulness to the mind and know your mental states. Being mindful of the space on the inside and as you slowly open your eyes, being mindful of the space on the outside.
Today's podcast is an offering to you from our archive of freely available live daily classes. We make wisdom teachings and meditations as freely available as possible to as many people as wish to practice. You can help ensure we can continue to support a worldwide Sangha by leaving a review wherever you get your podcasts, by sharing this with someone who'd be interested, and by offering a small financial support at sangha.live/donate.